Welcome to Easy Math TV. This is another video in our series on descriptive statistics, where we're actually reviewing how to solve probability questions and statistical questions using StatCrunch. So this is going to fall into our StatCrunch playlist, and it's going to be among the videos that talks about continuous probability distributions and how do we answer um, probability questions. So in front of us is a scenario where we're given weight loss treatment, or it's a diet program. So assume that the weight loss for the first year of a diet program varies between 4 pounds and 12 pounds. Okay. So that's being given to us. And it's spread evenly over the range of possibilities. So we call that a uniform distribution. And you're going to see what that looks like in a moment. But it's also continuous. So that means that weight loss can vary, um, can take on values uh, on an interval, okay, on an interval between 4 pounds and 12 pounds. So we're not just talking about whole numbers now. We're talking about decimal values as well. So, so this is kind of our introduction to a continuous probability distribution. We usually use the uniform distribution to start with, because we need to represent probabilities as area under the graph, and it's very easy to calculate probabilities when they're just rectangles. So there's three questions here we're going to answer. The first question is, find the probability that a given range of pounds lost is between 8 and 11. So that's well within our range. So, we're not allowed to go outside of 4 to the left and 12 to the right. So that's definitely good. And the way we write that is what you see here. So I didn't have a symbol for less than or equal to, but that's supposed to be less than or equal to, and this is also less than or equal to. So the probability of X, outcomes X between 8 and 11 is equal to blank. So there's a blank here. That's what we're going to be calculating in StatCrunch. So the first thing that we need to do is find that uniform calculator. Um, So I'm just going to close out of that and let's go. This is our StatCrunch window. Notice there's nothing here. This is just blank. So I'm just going to be using it as a calculator. And we want to go to the Stat menu. So find the Stat menu, go to Calculators, and this time we want to go all the way down to the word uniform. Uniform. So in front of us here is the uniform calculator. Make sure that it says that at the top. And you have two options. Standard means that it's going to be strictly to the left of something or strictly to the right of something. There is no such thing as equal to anymore, because we're talking about a continuous distribution. So um, there is no option for x equaling 2 or x equaling 4, because that doesn't make any sense when we're dealing with intervals of data. So with that question, we wanted to know the area in between two numbers. So we want to click on between. We're going to fill in our lower limit of 4 and our upper limit of 12 in this particular problem. That's what we were given here at the beginning. That this is what all patients or all clients will experience. That it varies between 4 pounds and 12 pounds. So 4 is the lower limit, 12 is the upper limit, and we want the probability of outcomes between 8 and 11. So you type in the things that you know, and then you hit compute for the thing that you don't know. And what I want to show you here is that on our graph, we actually see like a straight up line at 4 and we see a straight up line at 12 because that's where it begins and ends. It just cuts off at 4 and it cuts off at 12. And everything in between has a standard height or a straight line height. That's what the uniform distribution looks like. It just looks like a block or a rectangle. And the red shaded area is the area that we're interested in. And the area of it is 0.375 because the total area of the rectangle is 1. The total area of the rectangle is 1. So the area of the red is 0.375. So on my thing up here, I'm just going to answer the question. 0.375. I'm going to highlight it kind of this pink color. Okay. So that answers question 1. Question 2, let's find the probability that a random client that was selected has lost more than 10 pounds. So you'll know that notice that that's not in between two numbers. It's strictly more than 10 pounds. So there's a couple things that we need to note about this situation because um, it's really important that you understand that the 10 is the boundary value. It's not 11 because we're not dealing with a discrete distribution anymore. So there's a difference. There is a difference in how you approach a discrete distribution, which only has like individual values of outcomes versus a continuous one that has an interval of outcomes. So our boundary value is 10, not 11, because all the values in between are all possible. 10.1, 10.05, 10.5, 10.2, right? All those numbers are possible values that are more than 10. Not only is the boundary value 10, but we're also, since it says more than, we want the area to the right of it. So let's go back to our calculator here. The 4 and the 12 do not change, but instead of in between, we want standard. And instead of less than, we want greater than. And we're going to put in our 10 here, and I'm going to hit compute. So on the graph, you can actually see the values that are being calculated for. If you think that those are in error for any reason, you can update the numbers down here. But anything between 10 and 12 is what we are interested in for that question 2. More than 10 means between 10 and 12, because remember, 12 is the value on the right, okay? So there's our answer there. No, I guess I didn't type it in. So the answer there is 0.25. 0.25 is the probability that that someone would lose more than 10 pounds in the first year. So that's a 1 in 4 chance of that happening. The third question that I want to answer has to do with percentiles. So that's a cumulative probability. And it's actually giving us the probability, and it wants to know the boundary value. So that's an important distinction to make, and it's important that we actually note that here. The probability is standard because cumulative probabilities are the standard probability up to a certain point. And we want to know what the boundary value is, where the area to the left of it is 0.30. And the way we would see that in StatCrunch is what you see here. You would have your capital P, and then X is less than or equal to something. So notice that that number is missing, and the number to the right of it is going to be 0.30. So over here, still standard. And instead of greater than, we want less than. And now we want to delete the 10 there. And we're not filling in anything because that is our missing boundary value. We do not know what that's what we're solving for. The probability itself is our percentile, so that's 0.30. And I'm going to hit compute. There's our boundary value right there, 6.4. So up here, I'm going to identify. Let's change the color. The X equals 6.4 pounds. So basically 30% of clients. 30% of clients will lose less than or equal to 6.4 pounds in the first year. 6.4 pounds. And it's really, I mean, if you really want to be accurate with it, it's 4 is at the lower limit. So it's going to be between 4 and 6.4. All right. So that is the uniform distribution in StatCrunch. Like, subscribe, comment down below. Share these videos with other people if you think that they will find them useful. And I'll see you in the next video.